Hello, hi, I'm Louisa from BeadStars and welcome to this tutorial on how to make a basic beaded strung necklace.
Right, I'm just going to talk about the tools that we're going to use to make this necklace. The first pair are these, which are chain nose pliers. So they have a flat inside which goes to a point. You could also use flat nose pliers, which are exactly the same, they just don't go to the point at the end, so they're the same width all the way along. So they're chain nose or flat nose pliers. I'm also going to use a pair of round nose pliers, which we'll use to open the jump rings with. These are very similar to the chain nose in that they go to a point, but they're round all the way round. So they're also really good for making loops on earrings as well. And then finally, I have my cutters, which we'll use to cut the tiger tail wire in a minute. Right, so let's get started then. First thing to do is talk through the kind of things that you're going to need to make a basic strung necklace. Now, these little things here are, we have got a clasp, some jump rings to attach the clasp with, and these are called little tiny crimp beads, which we'll use as well. Now, these are all classed as findings. So if you hear that term when you're talking to anybody else that makes jewellery or searching on the internet, anything to do like the ear wires, clasps, jump rings, they're all classified as like grouped together as findings. So when you're looking online, if you're looking for clasps and fittings, that's what you'll be looking for. We're also going to use this, which is tiger tail. So this, let me just find the end. There it is. Don't know if you can see that there, but this is a very fine wire. It's strands of wire sort of twisted together and then coated in nylon. So this is what we'll use to thread the beads onto. Okay, and finally, I am going to need the beads that I'm using. So I've just chosen some black and silver Indian foil lined beads here. And then I've mixed it up with some fire polished check glass beads and some little silver stardust beads as spacers, just to kind of break up the black a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to cut a length of tiger tail using my cutters. So I've done that. So I don't know if you can see, you probably can't see the length here, but I've cut it quite a bit longer than my necklace is actually going to be. I'll just knock those beads over there a second. Because I need to have plenty to attach the clasps to on the end. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned is what I've got my beads laid out on. This is a bead design board. You don't have to use one of these, but it is very handy because it has the grooves round here, look, so you can actually settle your beads into those grooves to work out your design before you got started. It's also got little like pockets here for you to put your beads in so they don't go rolling over. It's just quite a nice way of organising yourself and getting your design sorted before you get started. Okay, so step one, I've cut my tiger tail wire, which I've just set aside. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to add my lobster clasp. In this case, I've got a little heart-shaped clasp, and I'm going to add it to one of the jump rings. Now, to open my jump ring, this can be a little bit tricky. I'm going to grab, I don't know if you can see that, if you can focus in. Yeah, I'm going to grab one side of the jump ring with my round nose pliers. And I don't know if you can see, but the opening point of the jump ring is at the top here. I'm then going to take my other pair of chain nose pliers and grab the other side so that I can push one side of the jump ring towards me and the other away. That way it opens up quite neatly. I can then add on my clasp, and then doing the opposite, if you can see that, I can close it. So there we have the lobster clasp with a nice neat closed jump ring attached to it. Right, next I'm going to pick up my piece of tiger tail. You can see that there, and I am going to add that lobster clasp to one end. Now the first thing to do on this is quite fiddly, I don't know if you can see, but I have just added a crimp bead to my tiger tail wire. I am then going to add on my jump ring. There we go. So I've got my crimp bead and then my jump ring. And then I'm going to push my crimp bead back, my tiger tail wire, sorry, back through my crimp bead. So I've created a loop. I'm then going to pick up my chain nose pliers and just, bear with me a second, grab that crimp bead with my chain nose pliers. They've got the flat inside. Move it up a little bit close to the jump ring. I don't want to be too close because I want to have a bit of room for that jump ring to move. And I'm just going to squeeze tightly with the pliers. So I don't know if you can see that, but that has flattened the crimp bead onto the wire, which has now secured the clasp. So I've now got a wire with a clasp on one end. I'm not going to worry about trimming the end of this tiger tail wire off, this pointy bit here, because I'm going to thread my beads on and that'll just get all tucked up into the beads. So that is how you add the clasp to one side of your necklace. So now I've added my clasp to one side, I'm going to set that down, just move it out of the way, and taking the other end of my tiger tail, I am just going to start threading the beads on. Just doing them one by one. And I had counted out, I've got 17 of these little black beads on each side. So I've already counted out equal amount on both sides. So I'm going to start threading them on. And as I have done that, I'm just going to make sure that both of those, that little tail of wire, goes inside all of those beads. So now you can't see that end bit. So I'm going to quickly add on the rest of these black beads. Okay, I've added on all of the black beads from one side. I'm now going to quickly add on little silver stardust beads. Then I'm going to add on one of my feature beads. So now we're going to sort of start creating the feature design at the front. So it's a little silver stardust, then a foil lined, another silver stardust. So you can see that by having my beads all laid out for me, I don't get mixed up with my pattern. So let's just have a look, see how that looks. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So I will continue on now and add all the other beads. It's handy to quickly check every now and again as you're adding the beads on, even though you've laid them out, to make sure they haven't moved and you haven't got them in the wrong order or missed any out. So I'm liking the way that's looking so far. So that's the end of my feature beads that are going to go at the front and sit at the front. I'm now just going to finish adding on the other side of the black check fire polish beads. Okay, so now I've added all of my beads. We now need to add a jump ring to the other end of the necklace so that the lobster clasp has got something to attach to. Now to do this, I'm going to add my crimp bead first. So let me bring it up, hang on. There we go, hope you can see. Let's have a look, just see if we can focus in on that. Yeah, so I've got my crimp bead on first. I'm then going to add the other jump ring. So let me just bring this up because it's a little bit fiddly. So I've got my crimp bead first and then my other jump ring. And I'm going to do the exact same as I did on the first end, in that I'm going to thread that wire back through to create a loop. This time I'm going to hold the jump ring and pull the wire so that I can get it all nice and taut. Okay, you can see that. So again, I've got a little loop ready for my to crimp onto the wire, which will hold that jump ring in place. Now before I use my pliers to crush it or to crimp it, I've got a bit too much wire here. See if we can trim some of it off. It's better to have too much than not enough. So I've just got rid of a little bit of the excess of the wire. Let's just try and see if I can get this focused in a bit better for you. Okay, I'm now going to thread the end down into some of the beads. So probably round about 4 or 5 beads in. So I have brought my wire down 5 beads there, look, so you can see that hides that tail just inside. I'm now going to use my chain nose pliers, which are the ones with the flat inside, to crush that crimp bead tight onto the wire, which secures the jump ring quite tightly. There's a little bit of movement in the bead, which is great because when you put it on, you don't want the beads too tight against each other. Now I've got that little bit of wire. Let's see if you can focus in there, hanging out. So I'm now going to get my cutters there you go. And I'm just going to trim that off so that disappears inside and you can't see the end. And that is my necklace complete. So now I have a jump ring on one end and the jump ring with the lobster clasp on the other end, which I can just link together to close. And that's my necklace complete.
Hi, I really hope you enjoyed that video on how to make a simple strung necklace. If you did, please subscribe below and I'll hopefully have some more tutorials coming for you soon. Thank you.